Watch how Rachel Reeves faces one of her fiercest House of Commons confrontations yet as MPs accuse her of repeated U-turns, rising taxes and failing to deliver on Labour's economic promises. With loud groans echoing across the chamber, this explosive debate quickly turns into a battle over Britain's economic future. Before we continue, hit like and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive political coverage. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry, but the Chancellor's recollection of her record is fantasy economics from a fantasy economist. Isn't the true record this? Poor decision-making, with U-turn after U-turn after U-turn on winter fuel payments, on business rates and on family farm taxes. Tax after tax after tax on jobs, on investment, on savings. A country more indebted with higher interest rates too. And a Chancellor unable to cut welfare and unwilling to fund our defence.
I'm incredibly proud of my record as Chancellor of the Exchequer. The fastest growing country in the G7 within the EU, wages rising faster than inflation every single month since I became Chancellor, record investment coming into the United Kingdom, rolling out free breakfast clubs and free school meals, 500,000 children lifted out of poverty, creating the National Wealth Fund and leveraging in private sector investment. Those things are only possible because the decisions that I have made as Chancellor, and as a result, for the first time since 2019, government borrowing was less than 5% of GDP, a very far change from the mess that I inherited from the party opposite.
We come to topicals. David Williams.
Number one, please, Mr. Speaker.
Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government has the right economic plan, the fastest growth in the G7 at the start of this year, the second fastest rate of growth in the G7 since the election. Inflation lower than forecast, with food inflation at its lowest level for 17 months, despite the disruption in the Middle East. Wages have risen faster than prices in every single month since I became Chancellor, and I am tackling the cost of living challenges, with rail fares frozen, with prescription charges frozen, with money off energy bills and fuel duty frozen. Our economic plan is the right one, and I will continue to deliver for the British people.
Sir Mel Stride, Sir Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given all that is going on, Mr. Speaker, this could be the last time. So the legacy of this Chancellor has been the highest taxes on record, a benefits bill spiralling out of control, unemployment 300,000 higher than it was at the last general election. The Right Honourable Lady trumpets 2.8% for inflation, still well above target, and only last year it was the highest in the G7 to the detriment of millions up and down our country. And borrowing? Well, could I ask the Right Honourable Lady how much more under her plans she intends to borrow this Parliament than the plans she inherited?
Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about my record. 6 cuts in interest rates, wages rising faster than inflation, trade deals secured, investments delivered, support for our energy-intensive industries, 500,000 children lifted out of poverty, record investment in our National Health Service, more money for local transport infrastructure right around the country, the biggest uplift in defence spending since the end of the Cold War, and an economy that has constantly beat the forecasts, an economy that is growing, an economy where inflation has come down. Compare that to the disastrous 14 years when they were in office. I would take our record any day.
Can I just repeat, please? Chancellor, there's lots of people who stand on this side who need to get. I've got to get through this list. You've got to help me to help them ask their questions. Sir Monstro.
Well, the Right Honourable Lady cannot bring herself to answer that simple question, and I will tell her she is borrowing £250 billion more than the plans that she inherited. That is her legacy. Now, we hear that the Right Honourable Member, the member for Makerfield, is considering borrowing even more. Does she agree with me that that would be utterly reckless and that the bond markets will not wear it?
When the Conservatives were in office in the last Parliament, they borrowed more than the G7 average for every single year. This year we are borrowing less than the G7 average and have brought down government borrowing to 4.2% of GDP in the most recent data. And we have brought forward our fiscal rules so they kick in 2 years earlier, and we are meeting those fiscal rules to ensure that we have sustainable public finances, a far cry from those that I inherited.
Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since I became Chancellor, our economy has grown by 2.3%, the fastest among European G7 economies in that period. Over that time, we have progressed our strategy for stronger and more secure growth through fiscal stability, through bringing in an additional £120 billion in public investment, as well as crowding in private investment through the National Wealth Fund and British Business Bank, because I changed our fiscal rules. And third, removing structural barriers to growth, including big reforms to our planning system, our pension system, and progress to reduce regulatory burdens, particularly on smaller businesses.
Mr. Speaker, the long-term strength of the economy depends on long-term investment in the UK. UK growth companies still struggle for capital, whilst UK savers' money flows to trackers concentrated on a small number of US stocks. And this is bad news for our future. My right honourable friend has made brilliant progress reforming pensions, but can my right honourable friend the Chancellor reassure me that the Treasury is looking at further reforms to increase the amount of UK savers' money that is invested in our future? Chancellor.
I thank my honourable friend for his question and the work that he's done on the Treasury Select Committee. On pension reforms, we, through the Mansion House Accord and through Sterling 20, have got pension funds to commit to investing more in British businesses, both through British venture schemes and also in British infrastructure, changes secured by the Pension Schemes Bill that my honourable friend took through Parliament, and for the first time ever requiring that investment in UK businesses and in infrastructure. We're also making reforms to how our ISA system works, so that for people under the age of 65, after investing £12,000 in cash, any additional money has to be invested in stocks and shares, helping start-up and scale-up businesses grow and stay in Britain.
John Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Chancellor's obviously had to make some tough decisions since 2024, but the member for Ilford North wants to go further in terms of aligning the capital gains tax rate to the higher rates of income tax. Did the Chancellor examine the behavioural effects of such a policy before she made a much more modest increase in her first budget?
Chancellor.
Well, in my two budgets, I have raised an additional £30 billion through taxes for more wealthy people, whether that is through the changes to the non-dom rules, VAT and business rates on private schools, taxes on private jets, the high-value council tax surcharge, or indeed the increases in capital gains tax. And if you combine those things, that's an extra £30 billion secured for our public services, and also to stabilise our public finances and get debt down as a share of our economy by asking those with the broadest shoulders to pay more.
Brilliant.
Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, we don't say thank you enough, so I'd like to offer my heartfelt thanks to the Chancellor for listening. She listened to me, my fellow MPs, our pottery workers and our GMB union, and especially Sharon Yates, by offering a £120 million support and growth package for our ceramics sector. So can the Chancellor now outline how she will ensure smaller manufacturers benefit from this fantastic new scheme?
Well said. Chancellor.
I thank my honourable friend for that question, but also for the representation he and other MPs representing ceramic constituencies have made. It was a real honour for me to be able to meet the impressive force of nature that is Sharon Yates when I visited Dunoon, a ceramics business in Staffordshire, just a couple of months ago. I would like to pay tribute to her and the campaigning trade union GMB, Ceramics UK and all campaigning Labour MPs on their efforts. As a result, they have been heard, and the £120 million package of support for ceramics announced earlier this year will give a positive future for the sector.
Madam Jogi.
We're all grateful for the package of support for the ceramics industry. It's important for jobs and livelihoods in Newcastle and Lyme, where we make excellent British bricks. So can I urge the Minister to do whatever possible to increase the use of British-made bricks in construction projects right across our United Kingdom?
Chancellor.
I thank my honourable friend for his question and also the representation that he makes on behalf of the ceramics industry in Newcastle under Lyme. The £120 million funding will be launched in the autumn. We're working with the sector now, and it will be available for firms of all sizes because it is important that small ceramics manufacturers can benefit as well as larger ones.
Daisy Cooper, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is exactly 10 years since the country voted to leave the EU, and thanks to the Conservatives, the post-Brexit red tape has created an extra 2 billion pieces of extra paperwork for British businesses, enough to stretch around the world 20 times. The hit to growth is the equivalent of the Treasury losing out on £90 billion every single year. Surely, by now, the Labour government and the Labour Party must recognise that if they want to go for growth and raise revenue, they should drop their red lines on Europe now.
With all respect, the Liberal Democrats backed that referendum 10 years ago, and they were part of the government that legislated for that referendum. And on manifesto commitments, unlike the Liberal Democrats, the Labour Party actually stick to our manifesto commitments, unlike you.
Good, stand back.
Grangemouth's refinery was a loss to Scotland's economy. The Chancellor rightly consulted on including refined products in the carbon border adjustment mechanism to level the playing field for domestic refining. A level playing field the Tories did not pursue before the closure of Grangemouth was announced in 2023. Will the Chancellor meet me and other colleagues to discuss the merits of accelerating inclusion of refined products in the CBAM?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for his question and his strong representation on behalf of his constituency and the important refining industry. I've seen the letter to the Chancellor that has been sent by colleagues, and I would be very happy to meet with my honourable friend and other members who are interested.
Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A question for the Chancellor. Could she explain why she's now clawing back VAT on the compassionate medicine scheme, which means that this Labour government is taxing free cancer drugs given to children? Will she reverse this decision because patients are starting to miss out on the treatments they really need?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I regret to inform the member opposite that this was a policy that was implemented by his government. It was in 2023 that HMRC wrote to businesses that were not paying the VAT, unlike some others that were, and began the enforcement action. It started under his government. But I recognise, Mr. Speaker, the challenges that these rules are causing, and so I do want to today confirm that the government will soon bring forward a new approach consisting of changes either to the VAT rules, Mr. Speaker, or a reimbursement scheme. The changes will be effective for donations of medicines made on or after today.
In all our constituencies, small hospitality businesses such as Shot Smiths in Beckenham and the Alma Pub in Crystal Palace provide important third spaces, bringing life to our high streets and providing good jobs. The Chancellor has visited my constituency to outline additional support for local pubs. Can she set out what further steps she is taking to ensure that these small businesses can grow and thrive?
Chancellor.
I thank my honourable friend very much for that question. And not only have I visited his constituency, I think I went to school in his constituency, and I am well aware of many of the pubs in Beckenham and Penge. This summer, the Great British Summer Savings from this Thursday will benefit businesses in Beckenham and Penge and around the country, where dinners in restaurants, pubs, cafes and bars for children will see their VAT rate cut, and children's entertainment venues as well in Beckenham and Penge around the country will also see cuts in VAT.
Today marks 10 years since the Brexit referendum, and since that day we've had 10 Home Secretaries, 9 Foreign Secretaries, 8 Chancellors, 7 Defence Secretaries and 6 Prime Ministers. So would the Chancellor agree with me that such instability has acted as a brake on growth in this country, and can she set out what she plans to do to reverse that trend?
Well, in the first quarter of this year, we were the fastest growing economy in the G7. And since I became Chancellor, we've had growth of 2.3%, which is the second fastest rate of growth in the G7. We are growing our economy by bringing investment and stability back to the UK, and businesses are following our lead by investing in our country.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Chancellor announced the biggest insourcing of government caterers, cleaners and security officers that we have seen in a very long time when the current contract ends. Does she agree that this move will finally recognise workers that have been undervalued and underappreciated for far too long?
Chancellor.
When we were in opposition, I promised the biggest wave of insourcing in a generation, and we are now working in government to deliver exactly that. The GPA contract that expires in 2028 will come back in-house, and that means people working, I think, around 40 locations across government in London, but around the country, will find that instead of being employed by an outsourcing company, will be employed directly by the government and will have the same terms and conditions as other civil servants. A huge difference to them and their families.
What an extraordinary Treasury Questions session that was in the House of Commons. Rachel Reeves defended her record by pointing to economic growth, falling inflation, rising wages, new investment, and increased funding for public services. She argued that difficult decisions on taxation had helped stabilise Britain's finances while allowing greater investment in infrastructure, defence, schools, and the NHS. The opposition painted a very different picture. Shadow Treasury ministers accused the Chancellor of overseeing repeated policy U-turns, increasing taxes, expanding government borrowing, and failing to provide a clear long-term economic strategy. One critic described her approach as fantasy economics, arguing that businesses, families, and farmers are facing growing financial pressure because of Labour's decisions. For households across Britain, these debates are about much more than political headlines. Families are concerned about the cost of living, businesses want certainty to invest, workers want secure jobs, and taxpayers expect public money to be managed responsibly. Whether the government's strategy is delivering those outcomes remains one of the biggest political questions facing Westminster today. Today's Commons exchange highlighted just how divided Parliament remains over taxation, borrowing, economic growth, and public spending. As Britain faces continued economic challenges, these arguments are likely to dominate political debate for months to come. What do you think? Has Rachel Reeves made the right economic choices, or do you believe Britain's economy needs a different direction? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy our coverage of PMQs, Treasury Questions and the biggest Commons debates, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Britain Daily, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest political clashes and breaking news from Westminster.